Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. If you have not seen the show before, my name is Art Bergeron, my day job is as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell, which is up the street in Westborough. But this is not about my day job. This is about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to my presentations at the Senior Center, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if that's Southborough, that means right here. They don't want to move far away. They don't want to go to San Diego. They don't even want to go to Marlboro. They want to stay in Southborough. So the question is, who do you need to know and what are the programs you need to know about if you're like Frank and Mary and you just kind of want to stay right here? So with me is my wonderful co-host, Doug Peck, who's lived in Southborough for a long time. His day job is actually helping seniors with the organization Seniors Helping Seniors. This is not about his day job. It's all about, so he ends up finding these wonderful guests. And today we have a very special person to come on and talk about issues that you may very well have a real interest in. So Doug, whom do we have today?
Today we have the town administrator, Mark Purple, joining us because there's a lot changing. The town is reopening after COVID. We just had a big town meeting, our annual town meeting, and we want to find out what went on, what got done, what didn't get done, and sort of what's opening and what hasn't opened. So Mark, how are you this morning? Yeah, I see you're back at town. You're back at the town offices.
Yeah, I've been back at the town offices pretty much on a regular schedule for the past several months.
Okay.
Before that, it was intermittent between here and home, but I'm not good working from home. I don't have the discipline, and because you get up and before you have anything to eat, I'm already doing things, and then at 10:30 you wonder why you're hungry, and then you have something, and then after dinner and everything in the afternoon, you get back on the computer for a couple hours, and so it's really hard to separate that home work environment, and I really prefer to be here. And now that, as you alluded to, everything's coming back, it's great to be back with with the staff and with everybody again.
So are we all opened up as a town now?
So we're pretty much all opened up as a town now. I know that Pam LeFrancois, the Senior Center Director, is getting back into it gradually in terms of programs, trying to do some things outside. This isn't the week to do things outside. But we're pretty much open back up. I think the library is got limited capacity, but they are open for hours, so people can go back in and browse the books. The townhouse is open, DPW, all the buildings are open. I know that the recreation department is getting ready for summer programs. I think families are excited that there's going to be summer camp this year. I believe that Director Tim Davis had told me that a lot of the sessions are selling out.
No, that's good.
So it's really, people are, I think, embracing coming back out of some level of isolation.
Great. So the big event recently was the annual town meeting. And from your perspective, how did it go? I mean, was it well attended? Did we get things accomplished that we wanted to get accomplished?
So I didn't have the number in terms of I didn't speak with the clerk and get the actual number of people voters who had checked in. There were a couple of votes that were taken. So one article had passed 83 to 82. That was for the CPC funding to help with the restoration of St. Mark's Bell Tower. So if you want to use that as a bellwether, we had about 165 people or so. I believe last year's annual town meeting, and again, we thought we'd just be doing one of these outdoors, and this turned into the second annual outdoor town meeting. We had, I think, about 180, 185 people in that. So we had a pretty good crowd, hot day, and the moderator divided it into two sessions. We started at 10 in the morning, went to 1 in the afternoon, took a break from 1 to 2, which meant we went to our cars and turned the AC on, and then came back from 2 to 5, and we finished up a little bit before 5. So long day, but productive day.
Okay. So the clock tower passed. That was one of, had a little bit, obviously it was very, very close vote that we are going to add some money into the kitty to help them preserve the clock tower.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The overall, in terms of the meeting as a whole, and I picked that article simply because that was one of the hand counts. So to give you an idea of how many people came, the majority of the articles, I'm just looking. I have a what I call my cheat sheet,
Cheat sheet.
which basically is the articles, who's speaking, what are the dollars attached to it, how advisory, whether they supported it or not, whether selectmen supported it, the quantum of vote, and then how town meeting acted on that. Most of the articles, selectmen advisory, were in lockstep going into the meeting. And really that's how most of the articles turned out. Most of the articles at town meeting do get passed. There's a lot of work that goes into this, that you start
Ahead of
6
time,
months
yeah.
ahead of time to put together budgets, to craft bylaws, to put together all of this stuff. And so I think town meeting a lot of times will defer to all the work that's been done, because really most people, when they come to town meeting, they probably haven't taken a good look at a lot of the articles, maybe a couple that are interest to them. And these are the people that want to get up and ask questions and get involved in the discussions, which I think is great. People should ask questions about this stuff because, it is your tax dollars, that are funding these, and, you are impacted by the decisions made at town meeting.
Okay.
And Mark, could you just speak to if you don't mind, a couple of minutes about the budget? Because I know certainly kind of earlier in the year, there were, of course, kind of, I don't want to say doomsday concerns, but there were big concerns about how last year's budget was going to play out, but especially about how this fiscal year's budget was going to play out because of, projected drops in the state, the state numbers, and there were a whole bunch of issues. Can you just kind of speak to that and if you any sense of, given the budget that has passed and the numbers that about, kind of where what that's going to mean in terms of tax rate and stuff?
Sure. So we're looking at, so when we started the budget process last fall, and we saw where the costs were going to be increasing in terms of any contractual increases, any known increases that we had, we were starting out at about a 9 or a 10% tax increase, which obviously is not something that, we ever want to bring to town meeting unless it was going to be the last town meeting for us. So
That's a swan song type town meeting.
It really is, considering we brought in, I think, in the 9 budgets I've done since I've been here, we've brought in pretty reasonable, pretty responsible budgets. We've worked collaboratively with the school department. Historically, you can go back and take a look at some of the budget. The school had a lot of things and the town had to have very little in order to accommodate everything out of the same pocket. But we ended up working the budget with departments and boards and committees and taking a look at revenues. And, this whole pandemic really didn't help us in terms of some of our revenue projections. But we wanted to make sure that we weren't supporting this budget, with too many one-time revenues, because the one-time revenue goes away, the expenses remain. So we ended up bringing a budget to town meeting, which was just about 3.1% tax increase, which has been pretty standard, I think, over the over the past several years. Last year, actually, we brought in really low, just over 1%. But we did have some challenges this year. Last year, the police department wanted to add 2 additional police officers to improve patrols and officer safety so that you had 3 officers available on every shift. We weren't sure how to afford that. So we did the hirings mid-year. So you only pay half the year of the officer and the benefits. But what happens the next fiscal year? Yeah. Now you've got the full benefit, the full boat for those officers and those benefits. We did the same thing with youth and family, and we brought somebody in mid-year. So all of a sudden you're starting a little bit behind the 8 ball when now we've got these additional costs that were approved the prior year impacting, fully your budget for the coming year. So, the budget is born out of compromise. The budget is succeeds out of collaboration. And if you take a look at most of the financial articles, whether it's capital budget, the selectmen, they set up a great ad hoc capital budget committee. They did a great job working with me and with the finance director to make some revisions, make some tweaks to the capital plan. We took a look at doing some short-term leasing instead of outright purchasing in order to spread the costs out a little bit more, which helps us in some years when we really have to address more capital than in others. And I think, but in the time that I've been here, you look at the history of the capital articles that town meeting has taken up, most of them have passed as presented, or there are agreed upon amendments that everybody is going in to make. And that's really a reflection, I think, of the, of the work and the preparation that goes into this. I love to that's why all these financial articles are up front, because I want to get those out of the way so that I can then stop sweating, and try and focus on some of the other things in that, because the budget is really, the financial articles are what drives town meeting every year. Those are the articles, that's the article you have to take up and get through, so the town can continue to operate.
I know. I happened to go to a town meeting last Saturday. I do a lot of work on the vineyard in Nantucket, which and of course my partners will always say, "Oh, you have to go to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket," which in the summertime it's a hard sell, but February is a little bit different. But they had, so that's a town of 15,000 people. They had 900 people at town meeting.
Wow.
Unbelievable. But what was driving it was they've got some big financial concerns. They've got a lot of money coming in, but then you've got there's a lot of growth. It's a lot of stuff happening. Now, can you just I am just curious about you had mentioned the clock tower one. I was wondering if Doug, if you wouldn't mind my asking.
No, go right ahead.
What your sense has been during your time there of the Community Preservation Act funds, because one of the things I was just speaking to my old friend Bob Durand, who had been the senator from this area and who was actually the legislator who kind of drove that issue, the Community Preservation Act. And we were reflecting upon the fact that this is the 20th anniversary of the Community Preservation Act. That was signed by then Governor Sallucci in 2001. And I said, how much money, he kind of keeps track because this was one of his babies. And I said, how much money has been raised and spent through the Community Preservation Act to this point? He said a little more than $3.1 billion. I was like, that's the most astonishing thing, but it's just, it just seems like it helped a lot of projects, which, you'd never get them approved kind of automatically, at town meeting. Oh, we really can't afford it, but they really kind of help in terms of doing special things. And so I was just wondering if you had, any thoughts on that.
No, I agree. I think it was a good tool to use to try to help to fund some of these projects. And a lot of the projects in Southborough have been open space, recreation, a lot of things of that nature. The one thing that people would say is that, well, it's easier than, otherwise this would end up on the tax rate. But you forget where the money comes from, right? It's a surcharge on your taxes that pays for this. And when this started out, the hook that the state had to get CPA approved in the communities was that the state had 100% match. So if you went to the full 3% surcharge, you would get 100% match. Well, this worked great until the state started to run out of a funding source because more and more people accepted CPA, and then they didn't have the ability to continue that match. So the match continues to drop and drop and drop, whereby at one point a number of years ago, it seemed that the state, the local percentage was carrying the majority of the funding. The state then changed the funding source a little bit, and it's getting better. It's not what it was, but it is getting a little bit better. And I've heard some conversation that maybe we should go to from a 1% surcharge in Southborough to a 3% to have more money available. But again, this is a surcharge on the tax rate. And so I think it's a larger discussion, but I do know that, a lot of things have benefited. I know that one of the big articles, the CPC article that passed, was some renovations to the townhouse, which are long overdue. I think, obviously the roof, the windows, and we want to make sure that the building maintains the historical character,
Mhm.
you know, that it has. I think that facilities department, I'll just give a plug for John Parent and facilities. The one thing that's been a silver lining of the pandemic is we haven't had people in the building. We haven't had public coming through. They've done a great job. I'm sitting up in the McAuliffe room right now. They had everything painted. They've started to do, you know, they did a lot of work in the building and that aesthetics and that made it look really nice. This building is going to be in the town's inventory forever.
Mhm.
The use may change, but it will be here forever. So we need to maintain, we need to take care of it. We need to, you know, protect the infrastructure and, you know, fortunate CPC, the article was able to do that. In fact, that article passed very quickly and very easily after the bell tower article, because the argument against the bell tower article was that, you know, this money should be put into the town buildings. And this is, you know, and so when the bell tower article passed, there was very little discussion on the townhouse renovation article. That you know, that one passed very quickly.
So thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And I appreciate the observations on it, you know, because so often people, you know, kind of hear about CPC, but only in the context of a particular project as opposed to more generally.
The one area of CPC that we haven't, you know, used a whole lot, and I know that in most communities that I'm aware of or have been involved in that had CPA, is the affordable housing bucket, so to speak. And I know that our SHOPC and our Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee is getting more active, you know, and so they'll be looking to spend, you know, some of the CPC funding that's allocated into the affordable, because that's usually the bucket that has the most money. You know, your general bucket is empty, you know, your open space bucket is empty, you know, and your historical bucket, you know, has got very little, but the affordable is usually pretty flush. And so, but I know that there are some items that they want to take a look at. In fact, one of the articles that was indefinitely postponed this year discussing South Union School, the Board of Selectmen were entertaining the thought of basically selling the property and, you know, seeing what we could get for it. And then those funds being, you know, put back against future capital or some other purpose. That article was taken off the table. And now the discussion, I think that Capital is having discussions with SHOPC as to, is there a project, if, you know, we don't want that to be used for town departments, is that a project we want to undertake on our own? It's our property. And, you know, we have the ability through SHOPC and Affordable Housing Trust Fund to maybe do some development on that property. You know, let's talk about what we might want to do with it.
Mhm. Good.
I didn't mean to take a lot of time, Doug, but I thought that
No,
was
that's
kind of
okay. I just talked to Pam, and as a matter of fact, she may be popping in a minute or two if she hasn't come on already. I just want to say, I think driving through town, the town really looks good. I mean, when you drive through, all the improvements that have been done on the Route 85 and 30 intersection and that whole area really make the town look nice like it should. And I'm looking forward to when it gets moved down a little bit even further through the whole center of town, you know?
Yeah,
So-
I think, and I appreciate that. I mean, we knew when this project was approved that it was going to be very difficult because it was going to be a little bit tough out there. You know, and a lot of the naysayers, you know, about how the project was going to impact things. But one of the first things they did was they redid the stone wall along the town common.
Right.
Excuse me. And I thought that was brilliant because that was really something that stood out. So once people saw that, they go, wow, that looks really nice. You
Yeah.
know, that everything else started to fall off of that. And, you know, it really came together well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the second half of the project as well. Good morning,
Mark.
Pam.
So one of my jobs, Mark, is I try to provide comic relief and also watch the time. And I'm watching the time, and now my friend Pam LeFrancois has tuned in. Thank you very much for coming on. And I know that one of the reasons why we had asked Pam was to just kind of talk about what's going on at the senior center.
Right.
Things as I described it to some people. Remember when COVID started? It was like everything was going, and then somebody like turned off a switch, you know,
Yeah.
and then like looking around, what happened? similarly with this, everybody was thinking it's going to be a long rollout and blah, blah, and all of a sudden the switch went on and everything's going, right? So Pam,
Yeah.
what is going on? What is going on at the Civic Center for the next couple months?
Some days I'm not sure what's going on.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
We're playing not catch up, but we're putting in programs and getting them up and running as soon as we can. Like somebody just reminded me today, like, oh yeah, we need to start the newspapers again so people can come in and read the paper. We are ordering bottled water again. We're trying to get all those things geared up now that we're open, but we've got a bunch of programs planned for the summer. We've got our fitness classes are still continuing either on the lawn or on Zoom. We still have our chair yoga class, and we still have our qigong class, and our tai chi class is on the lawn. They're out there they're out there today part of the time, but they're going to come in where it's air conditioned. It's a little warm today. So there's a lot happening. We've got a lot of breakfast programs going on. We're still running some drive-through programs because people still may not feel 100% comfortable coming out. So we're kind of doing a hybrid schedule for the summer. But if you drive by, there's tables and chairs out there because, like I said, we're running breakfast programs, lunch programs. We're going to have some entertainment, some musical programs. We're going to have a food truck coming. We've got a couple of ice cream socials coming up. So there's a lot of programs where people can come out and socialize and hang out for a while. And if they don't feel comfortable with that, we have, like I said, this program still on Zoom and cable and drive-through. So a little of everything happening.
And Pam, I know that's going to be it's going to be a work in progress, because things are going to continue to change. So I bet if people want to call you to just kind of figure, get a sense of what's going on. Is there a best number to call?
Yep. You can call us at 508-229-4453. And if you're not already getting a newsletter, please give us a call and we'll put you on the mailing list. There's a lot coming up in the summer, and then we're planning a big fall schedule. So we're here if you want to come by and see us too.
Yeah.
Come in person.
Great. When's the new newsletter going out, Pam?
The new newsletter will be for July and August, and it will go out at the end of June.
Okay, so people should watch for that.
Of July.
Okay, people need to watch for that because it'll have a lot of up-to-date information in it.
Yeah, and if you don't get one by that first week in July, give us a call and we'll check into it. Sometimes people haven't been getting them, so give us a call back and we'll make sure you do.
Well, that sounds good. Thank you for joining us because I really want people to know that it's open. Come if you forget what it looks like, come on down. Right. Look, have a cup of coffee. You can sit outside with friends. You can sit inside, whatever, The
boys are in there playing pool and playing cards, and the Mahjong ladies are playing Mahjong. And I think the Canasta group is coming back this week. So we're getting there.
Excellent. Excellent.
Pam, wasn't it you that was telling? I know they do quite a few of these shows, but wasn't it you that was telling me that you opened up one day at like 8 o'clock and the pool guys were like waiting for you?
Our first day.
The first.
See, all it takes is one of them to sneak into the building and open the back door for the rest.
Right. Yes.
But so two things. One, there's also a brand new bathroom for people to use. We added.
That's right. Yeah.
That was another pandemic benefit that facilities had the time to go in, put in another bathroom. So we now have options. Yeah. And the other thing I want to say is that Pam has done a really good job maintaining that connectivity between the town and her department and the seniors. The pandemic has been very difficult, for everybody, with that isolation. And I think the seniors may have felt it more, as much, if not more than anybody else. And Pam has continued to find a way to reinvent what we do over the last 15 months with her drive-through programs, with the outreach, with people going and dropping off little goodie bags and everything. It's been really good. So, keeping tabs on people, making them feel good. And Pam does a nice job. So now she's trying to, we're trying to move everything back to some of this in-person stuff as, a little bit, little by little.
Yeah.
And I suppose for both of you that the challenge is now to figure out how to take what you learned during this time in terms of all of the Zoom capacity and some other stuff, and even kind of build it into kind of things going forward. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the Zoom piece, as much as I'm done with the Zoom piece, the thing of it is that we have a library up on YouTube of hundreds of board and committee meetings.
Mhm.
And these are boards and committees that often, I think Council on Aging is one of them, Council on
Mhm.
Aging, Open Space, Recreation,
Right.
all of these boards and committees were never taped. And so, basically you just waited until the minutes came out. We have a library of these things, and some of these boards and committees are like, we like being taped. We like this.
Mhm.
So to be able to, hopefully the governor and the legislature can find their way to, it's probably not going to be by June 15th based on the information I saw this morning, because we don't do anything quickly here in Massachusetts. But to be able to continue the use of Zoom for some of these boards and committees and that, because, I know that we want to get back in person, and it's good to have that openness and that transparency, but Zoom has allowed transparency for some of these boards and committees that haven't been taped, that have not been, people don't have the ability to join in virtually. So it's
Right.
really been a blessing in that respect.
It's great. Well, Doug, thank you both for coming. Pam, always, and Mark and Doug, thank you for always putting these together. I mean, that's so I just want you to know, Mark, what you're talking to Pam about, really, that Doug has been a real influencer that way in terms of improving the lives of a lot of seniors here in Southborough. I think it's really a wonderful thing. And so I just, a gem in his own right. But Doug, thank you very much for putting
You're
this
welcome,
together
Arthur.
and getting both of you folks there. Thanks again, Pam. Thank you, Mark. Oh,
Thank
just
you.
one other thing, Mark, Pam wants everybody to go to the senior center, but you want everybody to go to town hall. So is there, if people can just come in, are your hours, your regular hours now? People can just come
Regular
in?
hours, the door is open. So we're here, at 8 in the morning, every day of the week. Tuesday nights, we're here late until 7. And on Fridays, we're only here until noontime. But feel free to come in. I think people sometimes they don't want to, they don't have anything to do other than they want to come in, and they just want to, still be able to come in and see the building. A lot of people
Yeah.
haven't seen any of the changes that have happened in the building in the past 15 months. So yeah, feel free to stop by.
So if you go in your downtown, go see Pam and then stop and see Mark. You'll have a great time. Thank
Good.
you very much, Doug. Folks, we hope
Thanks,
you enjoyed
everybody.
this present. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll hope to see you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.